Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado, a former Army Ranger who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, is on the House Armed Services and Intelligence Committees and knows the geography very well. The Washington Post is reporting that the Deputy Treasury Secretary and the Qatari government have agreed, and that you've been informed, the Democratic caucus has been informed, that Iran will not be allowed access to the recently established $6 billion fund of Iranian oil profits in Qatar and the central bank that was supposed to be used for humanitarian purposes, but because of this and Hamas's traditional support of, Iran's support of Hamas over the decades, that they're not going to be allowed to use it. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my understanding, Andrea. That notice was just actually sent out a little while ago. And I'm going to be very clear, not a penny of that money was sent to Iran. And under that prisoner swap deal, not a penny of that money was going to be sent to Iran. It was to be sent to third-party vendors for humanitarian purposes. So that money has nothing to do with the attacks over the weekend. I suspect that what this is the administration looking for points of leverage to prevent Iran from entering into the fray. Right? So we don't know whether Iran was involved in this attack. Early public reports indicate that Iran was taken by surprise and was not involved directly in the attacks over the weekend. But certainly one of the biggest challenges that both Israel and the United States face right now is how do we keep Hezbollah and how do we keep Iran from joining this fight? So points of leverage become very important.
And that was NBC's reporting as well, that there was very good, solid intelligence that Iranian officials, top officials, were taken by surprise. Speaking of money and Iran and Hamas, most particularly, I saw in the Wall Street Journal yesterday something that I had not seen before, that there was $41 million in cryptocurrency that went to Hamas in just the last couple of months. We don't know what the source was. Are they operating in crypto, and is that one of the reasons why it's been so hard to trace their money?
Well, that is likely one of the reasons why it's very hard to trace the money, although, we don't know what we don't know. I mean, cryptocurrencies pose a threat to our national security, and we do know that terrorist networks around the world, narco traffickers, and even nation-state actors foment terrorism and support insurgent groups using these currencies. So it's certainly a challenge to our intelligence and our law enforcement agencies to track that money and to figure out what types of activities they're funding, and Hamas is no exception to that.
John Feiner, the Principal Deputy National Security Advisor, told Morning Joe this morning that there will not be boots on the ground. Let me play that for you.
What I can say is at this point, we are not contemplating U.S. boots on the ground involved in that mission. What we have done is sent experts from across our government to the region to consult and advise with their Israeli counterparts to make sure that they find the best way to go about trying to get these people home.
That was, of course, regard to a hostage rescue. The president hinted very broadly about the fact that the U.S. is doing something, but he didn't want to tell the Jewish leaders who were visiting yesterday at the White House exactly what it was, because he said then it wouldn't happen. But we'd have to imagine that there's some intelligence and some operations going on with the Israelis to see about a rescue. How difficult would it be in that urban environment with all the tunnels?
Well, I'm certainly not going to speak as to particular operations or intelligence, but I do want to paint the picture as to how difficult urban environments like this are. I fought in heavily populated, very dense urban environments in the Middle East. These are the toughest environments to fight in under the best of circumstances, right? The houses, the buildings are layered upon each other. There are tunnels. There are overlapping complexes. These types of environments absorb combat power. They absorb forces like no other environment. Now, this is even the worst of circumstances because Gaza in particular has been built to be a death trap for invading forces. There are booby traps. There are tunnel systems. This is extremely, extremely tough stuff to fight in. So the idea of sending U.S. forces to help actually poses exceptional challenges, right? Deconfliction with Israeli forces. There will be airstrikes. There will be artillery strikes. There'll be Hamas forces that will be infiltrating. This is very, very difficult stuff. So we just have to work very closely with the Israelis here.
Thank you so much, Congressman. And we're going to go to Secretary Blinken right now in Israel.
We discussed it.